You know what no survival guru talks about? The most uncomfortable truth of a real, total collapse. In a functioning society, you raise children. In a collapse, you hide them. You have your survival lists: water purification, perimeter defense, and tacti-cool gear. But here is the question nobody wants to answer. What happens to the children when they stop being the future and start being treated as a resource?
This is a historical and sociological analysis, educational content only.
In the real version of history, the one that's repeating right now, children become leverage, labor, and barter. Let me show you why. I have Ukrainian roots, and a haunting secret lies buried in the language. The word for raising children, vyhovanya, sits directly next to the word havati, which means to hide. This isn't a coincidence. It's a historical heritage imprinted in the vocabulary of a land that has seen too many empires fall. For centuries, the Ukrainian lands served as a highway for empires at war. From the Mongol invasions in the 13th century to Ottoman raids, children were often viewed as harvestable assets. A cruel, ancient world where everything was for sale. When a village changed hands 3 times in a decade, the soldiers didn't care about a child's dreams. They cared about their utility. And in that world, raising children meant one thing: keeping them alive by keeping them hidden. Right now, children are protected by systems, more or less. Laws, police, social services, courts, schools, and hospitals. Remove those systems, and children become what they've always been in collapse: the most vulnerable, high-value target. Why? Because they're useful for work, or as leverage on parents, or as someone else's survival strategy. This is documented in Yugoslavia in the 90s, Rwanda, Somalia, and Syria. Every modern collapse follows the same script. Adults fracture into factions, resources get scarce, morality becomes a luxury. You think your neighborhood's different? Do you think your community will hold together? Maybe. Then hunger hits. The guy 2 streets over, who seemed normal, starts making calculations you don't want to think about. Collapse doesn't just remove the protection, it removes the internal inhibition that makes it wrong to utilize the weak. So, what does parenting look like when collapse happens? It stops being about growth. It stops being about dreams, education, socialization, and building confidence. It becomes about one thing: invisibility. You don't let them play outside. You don't let them make noise. You don't let strangers know they exist. You teach them to be quiet, to hide, to lie about their age, their name, their existence. Raising becomes hiding. This is the part that breaks parents. You realize you aren't preparing them for a future. You are just trying to ensure they reach tomorrow. And here's the math nobody wants to do. Right now, we can't count on protecting the most vulnerable. I mean, just to read the news nowadays, now remove the laws. Remove the enforcement. Remove the idea that someone might come to help. What do you think happens to those numbers? They get exponentially worse. The same opportunists active now will be the only ones organized when the lights go out. Except then, there's no one to stop them. And this isn't speculation. There are 3 of the most famous examples from history to the present day. Victorian England didn't protect children. It consumed them in factories, mines, and chimneys. 6-year-olds working 16-hour shifts because the economy needed small hands. In Canada, children were taken from indigenous families for their own good. Many never came back. The last residential school closed in 1996. That's not ancient history, that's 1 generation ago. In parts of Central Asia and Afghanistan, dark practices of using children as status symbols resurface every time the central authority collapses. Formal bans don't matter when there's no one to enforce them. Bad people are just waiting for an opportunity. And collapse is the best chance for them, while others are still pretending the rules apply. This is where it gets really ugly. In collapse, your in-group shrinks fast. Family, maybe a few trusted people. Everyone else becomes a potential threat. Trust dies because survival is a zero-sum game. If you have children, you are carrying a liability that others might see as an opportunity. People make alliances based on survival economics. What can you provide? What do you cost? This is the brutal calculus. A child who cannot contribute is a mouth to feed and a noise risk. To survive, childhood must end and utility must begin. Parents in collapse scenarios are forced to make their children useful fast, as lookouts, as scavengers, as labor. It's a tragic metamorphosis, but it's the only way the group can justify the cost of a child's presence in a high-threat environment. So here's the reality no one wants to say out loud. Are we returning to those days right now? Is society quietly stopping from protecting the ones who can't protect themselves? We get so comfortable that we forget what our ancestors knew in their bones. Raising children is a luxury that only works when civilization does. Otherwise, you teach them that survival isn't about being strong. First, it's about being invisible. You don't have to believe me, but the language remembers. And sooner or later, so will you. YouTube rules force us to speak in codes, just like our ancestors did. If you understood what I really meant today, congratulations, you're already part of the resistance. Like, subscribe, survive.